Good evening, everyone. This is Arcacia with Peoria Area Association of Christian Homeschoolers, and tonight we're talking about Transformed, our homeschool convention that is this weekend. We are so excited about it. Friday and Saturday is our homeschool convention, but we're starting off with our new to homeschooling night for our new homeschoolers on Thursday. Everything starts around Thursday nights around 6:30, Friday and Saturday mornings around 9. And yes, you can still come if you have not registered. Online registration is currently closed, but we are taking walk-in registration. And tonight we have speaker with us, Daniel Currier. He's going to be doing some great worldview sessions at this weekend, and we're really excited to talk to you tonight, Daniel, about those. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, we were kind of doing a little bit of talking before I was recording these sessions, and we were talking about some of my experiences because I have an older daughter in college, and you have some great talks that we're going to be discussing here. I'm going to briefly go over the 4 topics titles real quick, and then we'll kind of get into each one a little bit here. So we have how to engage the culture, essential skills for Christ ambassadors, a great topic for our college students, I think. Next one, how to immunize students against bad ideas before college, which I'm really excited about that one. And then racism, the history, the science, and the cure. And then the last one that you're going to be doing is plastic people, the biblical response to an anti-human world. So great talks. Why are these important for our students?
Yeah, so I think all these are, especially today's day and age, I see a lot of both modernism and postmodernism, which are 2 different worldviews, but both of them are impacting our culture in large amounts, both in secular university, but also on social media, friend groups, and other places like that. So when we are, watching videos or listening to someone talk or conversing with our neighbors, going to college, going to the workforce, these types of topics, these types of worldviews, I think it are impacting the younger generation, maybe even our generation, but even the younger generation. And that's a concern. I think we do need to have a solid foundation, know what we believe, why we believe it, and have the ability to defend what we believe and how to communicate with those from the secular worldview.
Definitely. I think it's very important to prepare our students for when they're entering college. I want to talk to you about the title, How to Immunize Students Against Bad Ideas Before College. That is really interesting to me, only from my personal experience. I mean, I was telling you before we started the recording session that my oldest daughter, she just recently graduated from a Christian university last year. And her very first year, freshman year, she was in a biology class. And the biology teacher told her and the other students there that she wanted them to leave the Bible outside of her classroom. And she proceeded to teach from an evolutionary perspective. Now, this is something that we found in a Christian college. So can you tell me a little bit about what kind of things that our students are getting encountered in college, and how can we prepare them for those ideas that they're getting tested with?
Yeah, college is pretty much technically the college environment, university environment is supposed to be a free speech environment. So even if you would hold a Christian worldview, you should be able to speak your mind. But on the other hand, other ideas come in all around you as well, including postmodern ideas, especially postmodern ideas, woke ideology that's impacting us, evolutionary ideology, Darwinism, naturalism, atheism. There's lots of different of these isms that are all around us that are impacting the students. And so when we go to college, we have to be prepared for that. So, some of the best ways that I can see to be prepared and to be prepared is to know what you're getting into and instruct the kids in those topics themselves. Now, there's an old saying or old storyline that says, how you have, so you're let's say a cop, and you are being trained on how to spot counterfeit money. The old saying is that people don't study the counterfeit to learn how to identify the real versus the counterfeit. They study the authentic money. Well, actually, that's wrong. That's not the truth. Now, they do study the authentic money. That's true, but they also study common types of counterfeit money. Same in this situation, we need to be training the kids or our students or our children to be able to spot the bad ideas to not only just to spot them, but to also know what these ideas are,
Mm-hmm.
and preferably to have a better knowledge of these bad ideas, and even the people at, like, let's say Darwinism. Hopefully they have a
Right.
better knowledge base of what Darwinism even is before they get to college. So whatever is thrown out at them, it's not unexpected. They're like, oh, I've heard that before, and I know the answer to that. So that's one of the big ways to prevent those bad ideas from coming in to your children's lives.
Right. And we shouldn't be afraid to teach them those different ideas, because that does prepare them better for when they're confronted with those ideas, especially in college.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people are scared about. But I think you've had Jay Weil at your conference a number of times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he has a lot of his old textbooks. He does show both sides, and rightfully so. And I think he tries to be fair to both sides, and
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, these are the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. And this is why I believe what I believe about Darwinism or whatnot. And I think that's kind of how we need to approach this, is to show both sides, and to fairly show both sides, to steel man the other side, not strong man them, give them the best argument for the other side, and then prepare the child to know, like, okay, here's a response to this, or here are the reasons why I do not think this holds up under tough scrutiny.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we definitely should probably be preparing our students, whether they're going to a secular college or a Christian university, because like I mentioned earlier, my daughter was in a Christian university and she encountered this from one of her educational teachers.
Yeah, and this is one of the concerns right now, and it's not just Darwinism, Darwinian evolution and materialism that's impacting students. There's even some Christian universities and colleges that are starting to accept and promote anti-biblical ideas, such as the LGBTQ issues and stuff like that, which we could get into. But some of these other issues are out there and are creeping into quote unquote Christian campuses. So these types of issues, it's not just Darwinism anymore. It's all these other ideas that are infiltrating into even the Christian colleges and Christian universities.
And we definitely want our students to be the best prepared for as they're entering into these universities and furthering their education too, for sure.
Definitely. And this is another thing too. I've taught college for a number of years as an adjunct in biology, and I often, surprisingly, encourage parents to look at each and every one of their students carefully before they send them to college and say, does this student even need to go to college? And this might sound surprising to parents, that me, someone who loves college, who loves learning, who loves biology and science and technology and all that stuff, would be telling people to be careful about sending your child to college, and only send your child to a college on an as-need basis. I think we've gotten into this mindset that every child has to go to college.
Right.
I don't know if that's always the case, because there's so many people that I know that are more hands-on. They're much better outside, or they have other abilities that people that usually are traditionally go to college, they don't necessarily have. But these other people that enjoy working with their hands, now they're just forced into this path of going to college. And when we do that, we are pretty much bombarding all our kids with these bad ideas, and especially if they go in unprepared, which most of them don't go in prepared. So that's another level. So don't go unless you have to. If you have to go, I love college. I enjoy it. I still enjoy college, but if you do send your child to college, do prepare, as we talked about before, because there is a lot of bad ideas, and they will be exposed to many bad ideas that are just downright dangerous.
And each child has their own path too. So let's get into some of your other topics here. Like another good one that I've seen was the topic of racism. And, as we look into the world nowadays and what we're indoctrinated with, or the things that we're bombarded with, in social media and politics and stuff like that, we have this topic of racism that comes up over and over and over again. Last year with Black Lives Matters, and then just, we've got the Russian war going on right now. So there's definitely different subjects out there about racism. What is the importance or urgency of us as Christ followers understanding and addressing this, because I think a lot of times we tend to just kind of put it underneath the rug or not even address it in the room. We want to kind of hide from it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think one reason why we want to hide from it is because it is controversial. The topic, or it could be controversial, especially with today's day and age with woke and critical race theory and the topics like that, which I will not be getting into that deep with this talk. I might skim over that topic, but that whole woke critical race theory is like 20 talks in itself. And that goes way beyond the scope of this talk. I think it needs to be addressed and some ideas should be presented, but I just do not have the time nor the space to be able to do it in this talk. But the thing is that the importance for us to be getting involved is that we actually have the answer. We actually have the answer to fix this racism that's all around us. We have the biblical framework. We have God created humans, and we all are humans, no matter if you're from Africa or Asia or Europe or Central America, South America, North America. It doesn't matter your ethnic background, your ethnic group, doesn't matter your family lineage, you are a human being because we're all part of the human race. There's only one race. So the idea of racism itself is kind of a misnomer because there is only one race, a human race. No, there's prejudice and people don't like someone from a different culture or different ethnic group. The thing is, though, is again, the Bible comes into the rescue on that item as well. Jesus comes along and he presents the gospel to all people. We all can follow Christ. The church should be at the forefront of bringing people together. I know there's actually one church in Peoria, or two churches in Peoria, probably about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. One was a church that was more African-American dominant. One was more of a European, historically European type of church. They intentionally merged specifically for this reason, to actually address this whole issue. They show the culture like, hey, we as Christians are at the forefront. We have the answer to be able to bring people together. And race is not an issue. Ethnic background is not an issue. This is a non-issue in the Christian world. No, that's not to say that Christians in the past have not been guilty of this, and that they're still not racist today. There are some, and that's really concerning. Those people really do need to change and try to be careful. Now, there are some people, even myself. I mean, sometimes we say something or do something unintentionally, having like a racist, you could call it racist, I just think is maybe more ignorant comments about someone from a different ethnic group that we assume about someone. So we have to be careful about those as well.
We're all sinners too, and we all make mistakes too. We need to make sure that we answer for our mistakes that we do make, and instead of putting them underneath the rug or, not addressing them, we need to be, humble servants of Christ too.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we all fail. We all have to keep picking up and trying to do better each and every day. And like you said, turn from what we do, take ownership for it, turn from that and try to do better. I agree.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about one class I haven't mentioned yet, and then we'll go wrap things up. But plastic people. So that's an interesting topic, and it's talking about anti-human world. So how do we equip our family to answer these ideas of anti-humanism? You've already mentioned a few, like LGBTQ, wokeness, euthanasia, abortion, those kinds of things. How do we equip our family to answer these?
Again, strangely enough, the Bible comes into very similar to the racism topic, in the sense that the Bible holds the answer to this. If we are human beings, if we are created in God's image, if we are valued by God, then we should not be demeaning the human body. The human person as a whole, we are created for God's pleasure. We're created in God's image. We're created to be co-creators with him, if you would, or we have the ability to be rational and all these other characteristics that God has. Now, we're not obviously God, that's clear, but God's given us something, whatever that is, something that is in his image. So we're created in his image, which makes us immensely valuable. So when culture as a whole goes after, let's say, the unborn child, well, that's attacking God's image. That's concerning to us. In ancient Rome, during the time of the start of Christianity and Judaism about 2,000 years ago, there was a practice called exposure, and the practice is a very common practice back then. What happened was the father of a family had the legal right to decide if he wanted his newly born child or not. He had up to 8 days or 7 or 8 days to decide if he wanted that baby or not. And if they did not want that baby, they could just throw that baby off to the side of the road. Well, obviously, Christians are going to come along and going to save lives. So Christians, again, the idea of Christianity, the idea of Christ, the idea of a Christian worldview drove them to save the lives of these newly born babies. And they were able to raise them as their own kids. Now, obviously, they were not able to save them all, but they were able to save many of them. But again, that's a testament to the Christian worldview, where we are, as Christians, Jesus has the answer to this anti-human worldview. The whole LGBTQ issue is where I am not me. My body doesn't represent who I really am inside. Well, you're demeaning how God created you on the outside as well. God created you as a male or a female, and yes, we may have that disconnect. We may have the struggles. We may have those types of. We're broken. We're humans. We're broken.
Right.
Humans from the fall. So of course we'll have issues like that. At least some of us will. But that does not. But we should not, as a people, diminish the human body and just say, "Yo, just go cut up your body to make it however you want it to look." That's really demeaning to God's creation.
Well, these are definitely some very exciting topics that I'm excited to hear for this weekend, again, for our Patch Transformed Convention. And I think you might even get quite a few teenagers listening to some of these topics, because I know that they're asking questions and they're wanting to know, and they're wanting to be able to give the right answers and to be confident in their answers too. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. Thank you, Daniel, for agreeing to come this weekend. And I'm probably going to be popping in on some of those great topics that you're going to have.
Well, that's great. I hope to see you there and hope to see you pop in. So again, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for this time to talk.
Well, it's been great. And again, we're talking about our Patch Transformed Convention, which is this weekend, Friday and Saturday. It starts, the keynote starts at 9, registration opens at 8:30. And yes, if you're not registered, you can still come, because we're taking walk-in registration, and you can come in person and hear some of Daniel's great talks.